Welcome in. Today, we're going to be talking through the initial progress schedule, also known as the initial project schedule or the baseline schedule. Let's dive right into it. An initial baseline schedule it outlines the planned start and end dates for tasks, milestones, and deliverables. It's a very important tool that serves as a benchmark for measuring project performance and progress. The contractor is responsible to create the schedule and submit it. Even though the contractor owns the schedule, it is a shared resource. It will become a tool through your project. Establishing a good baseline schedule off the start is really critical. The owner side, ACOT, they're responsible for reviewing the schedule for the accuracy and approving the schedule. Why? Schedules are a shared project resource, so they're not solely for the contractor. To an extent, it is their means and methods how they want to build the project, but if the critical path doesn't make sense and there's elements or sequencing that doesn't make sense, we want to be able to catch these things, review the schedule. Establishing an effective baseline schedule is critical for the project success. The initial project progress schedule is required to be submitted within 15 days from the date of notice of intent to enter the contract. It is really important that we get this submittal before the work starts. You want to make sure you have a good, solid schedule in place. The initial progress schedule should be submitted and approved prior to any pre-construction activities starting also. So you want to get this as early as possible before anything starts. You want to be able to have a good, solid baseline schedule. Because baseline schedules and schedule updates are required under specification 10806, the contractor shall submit schedules through the submittal module on ACC. It's got to be coming through as a submittal that we can review and approve. This allows us the ability to be able to review the schedule and comment when needed. It's really important. There are multiple ways to review a schedule. If you're a scheduler and you have P6 or Microsoft projects on your computer, download the raw file. You can go in, you can look at all the logic, you can do your filtering, and you can see all the data and information. Most people don't have these systems on their computers. What we can do is we can use ACC to actually do some of this data manipulation. Now we are in ACC. I've got an alert that a schedule submittal has come in. Submittal number 4, the initial progress schedule, is ready for review. Looks like a .xer file, so that tells me that's a raw P6 file. What looks to be also a PDF printout of this submittal. Okay, so I've downloaded my items. Now I did want to quickly jump over to my Forms tab. So under your ungrouped templates, under Forms, initial baseline schedule checklist. Jump over to the schedule tab, and you can ignore this. This is from a previous training. Usually this will be blank here. And what I'm going to do is create a new stack of schedules. So this is the schedule I just downloaded. I'm going to upload it now. My schedule is just uploaded into the system. I wanted to quickly show you guys what you're looking at, what you're seeing. So on the left here, you kind of have a group of columns, and this is telling me the activity ID, the activity name, a start date, finish date, a percent complete. And then if you want to add more columns, you can do so. If I wanted to go I like to actually add in the activity ID, and this is the activity IDs entered by the contractor. And you'll see why in a second. When I go over to the PDF version of this, you'll see why I like to have these numbers in here just for comparison. But there's different things you can do. You can add in references, you could add in the predecessors and successors, and that's another one that we'll get into in a minute. But there's a lot of different things that you can add in here. You could add in Slack, total Slack, which is also float. Now I clicked a few of these things I'm not really seeing, so let me expand this, and there you go. So I see now there are more columns. This on the right side, this is the Gantt chart style of your schedule. So if you are more of a visual person, then this would be a way for you to kind of go through your schedule too, and you can kind of see what's going on here. You can do different configurations. If I wanted to do a data date line, I can do that. So it looks like my data date line for this project is set, and it's usually also up here. So it was set for September 14th. So it looks like our NTP was September 15th. So this is nice and right before the work is actually going to start. So that part looks good. All right, so now I'm looking at the actual PDF printout that was provided with the schedule, and it looks cover page here. Now looking down here, I see, so you can see the activity ID, like I mentioned before, is listed here in this left column. Then you have activity name, you have an original duration, a remaining duration, start date, finish date, and a primary resource column. And then again, on your right here is the Gantt chart. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the PDF, and I'm going to flip back and forth between ACC and the PDF, and we're going to use the checklist to review the schedule. This first item on our checklist are the pre-construction submittals identified on the schedule. I do not see those pre-construction submittals anywhere in here. We want to make sure that at least some of these are entered onto our schedule. Probably the most important thing, and we all know this, is the SWIP. So at a minimum, we should have the SWIP. Item 2 are the permits identified on the schedule. I don't see any permits, so I'm going to go ahead and add that comment in. Add your permits, NPDES, C-941, that's the HDOT permit. And then we have the noise variance. You should look through all of your contract documents to make sure that whatever permit requirements are in your contract are added to your schedule. Item 3 is the schedule in working days or calendar days, and is that data entered? I don't see it in here. What you can do here, if you're unsure, is you can add a comment where they can add a column for what calendar they're using. Item 1.4 are initial progress schedule requirements being met. So this is kind of where it gets into the nuts and bolts of, you want to have the different PDF printouts, you want to have all the activities, the critical path activities, the raw schedule file, a method statement that describes the work and how it'll be accomplished. So I wrote missing a method statement and reports per HSS 10806D. You can just highlight that spec and require the contractor to resubmit based on that. Is float shown correctly on the TSLD? The timescale logic diagram is this printout, by the way. I don't see a column for float, so I added a comment saying show a column for float. You can also look this up in ACC. You can ask that they just add it all to your PDF as well. 1.6 are environmental restrictions properly added to the schedule. This is something, you'll have to look through your contract documents. Traffic control restrictions. This is another one. If you're allowed, nighttime work between Sunday and Thursday night, is their schedule set up to be Monday through Friday? These are different things to just kind of look for to make sure that their schedule makes sense when you're looking at it. Have any activities started? Even if you're getting this schedule after your start date for your project, you want to check to make sure nothing has shown as started on your schedule here. Procurement. Long lead items have 3 activities defined: prepare and submit, review and approve, and fabricate and deliver. I don't see that here. I just see submittals, and then there are long lead materials, procurement. I want to see those different things highlighted. So I'm going to make that comment. I'm asking them to break these submittals up into 3 activities: prepare and submit, review and approve, and fabricate and deliver. Next, we have the latest finish date is on or before the contract completion date. And that's just something you can look at to here on your the very top of my, the highest level of my work breakdown structure shows that this project will be done on February 25th, 2026. And I know that is the requirement for this job, is that it's done in 164 calendar days. So that is the correct date. So that looks right. The only activity without predecessors is the activity with the earliest start date. So for this one, the best way to check it is by looking back at your schedule in ACC, and by expanding your columns here, you can add in predecessor and successor. Looking through here, you'll see that, okay, I see substantial completion does not have a successor. A1990 is missing a successor. That's basically how you would find where you don't have predecessors or successors, even items that maybe they don't have a next step on the schedule. If it's an activity that doesn't have a successor, you would tie that straight to your substantial completion. So you're always kind of making sure that all of your activities within your schedule have a bookend. So I've added comments in now on some of the activities that were missing, predecessors or successors. I had a handful. Labor resources. So luckily on our PDF printout, the contractor did have a column for this. You won't always see this column. Another way you can check this is in ACC. So in ACC, if you come in here and you hit your configure button on this side, I can actually hit this one that says labor resources. So if I turn that on, that is going to pull up any labor resources that have been tied to my schedule. So that's how that works. Looking at my PDF printouts, I did notice that there was a missing section of resources. So that was a comment I added here. There's no resources for the drainage work on your schedule. We have reached the end of that section of the checklist. Now we're moving over to milestones and task description and duration. I know we've had another training on the milestones, but again, a little review: notice to proceed, start work, pre-final inspection, final inspection, contractual completion, and substantial completion. These are all milestones that we need to have added to the schedules. I did notice that our contractor here did not have all of those, so I did add a comment. Task description and durations: adequately define work scope and location. Do the durations and the descriptions make sense? Does it tell me where the work is going to occur? That's kind of more just going to be project dependent. So we see here the contractor has broken it out in the work breakdown structure. They've noted PCC pavement phase 1, station 80 to station 104. So you just want to make sure that when you're reading through your schedule, does it make sense? Can you easily figure out where things are? No activities having a duration longer than 20 days. Here I found there is an activity that was 34 days long, guardrail, demo, and install. So we did add this comment here to have them split this one up into multiple activities. So next on my checklist, we have, is there any negative lag on any activities? This one is a little bit trickier. What happens is contractors will sometimes try to bury lag in activities and they'll put negative lag. What you can do is you can actually request a report is generated by the contractor that shows a lag report. There's no real easy way to find it. So if you don't have P6 or Microsoft projects, you'll have a hard time trying to figure this out. And so I added the comment, include a lag report with the method statement. Do the logic of dependencies on your schedule make sense? This is something else that you're going to have to kind of go through your schedule to determine whether or not the predecessors, successors, the sequencing, all of these things make sense. The best way to do this is looking in ACC. You can click on your dependencies button here under configure, and this will show you the relationship lines. You know, if you don't really want to look at it this way, it is kind of hard. So by requesting this, then it'll be a report that the contractor can print out. Okay, so now we've finished our review. We have a lot of comments. We're going to add our disposition. All right, so now that we've completed our review, what we're going to do is go back in through ACC. I'm going to click on my review icon here and put in my version that I just saved with all my comments. I'm going to call this revise and resubmit, and I'll just say see attached. So we're going to send this all the way back to the contractor. Okay, so I just got pinged. It looks like they've resubmitted the schedule. Download the documents. Okay, now I'm looking at the PDF that they submitted. Looks like a much more complete document. I'm seeing 16 pages here. It's got a list of contents. They got a milestone summary, a critical path method summary. We have current and potential delays, attachments. I put this together quickly, but usually what you'll have is just a narrative of how they're going to build the project. So this is our revised TSLD here. It looks like they did add in our pre-construction submittals. We've got our permits are added in here, our calendar tab here. So this is a 7 calendar day. We've got our float column. So this gives me all of the float on every activity. We've got our submittals broken out into the various items. They did a WBS structure. So they did a submittals prepare and submit, submittals review and approve. Now you can see the resources. So the contractor is going to be the ones responsible for submitting all of these. Then HDOT will be responsible to review and approve all of these. And then our long lead materials are down here that are tied to these. You can see which items are on the critical path denoted in red here. So we've got 3 submittals that are on the critical path. These are things to highlight and keep note of on on your project. Long lead materials, 2 of the 4 are tied to the critical path, so those are related to those submittals as well. So you can kind of see how everything sort of ties together here. It just makes it a little bit cleaner. Looks like we did have our items that were missing predecessors and successors added back in. The other comment we had was on the missing resource here on the drainage system improvements. Looks like they've added that in. And then the milestones, it looks like they have added in all of the milestones I had asked them. They have this other milestone added in here, and you'll see that on schedules where maybe the contractor wants to add in their own milestones, and that's totally okay too. They can also have their own milestones. The duration was another comment I made. They've split that into 2 items, so it's 14 days for the demolition and then 20 days for the new installation. My last comment was on the lag report, but this is an activity relationship report. Can kind of quickly show you how all of the items on your schedule are tied together. Notice to proceed is tied to your pre-construction submittals prepare, and then you have start work, which is tied with a finish to start relationship to the traffic control submittal or prepare. All of these items are tied to start work. The lag, it's okay if contractors put positive lag. Maybe they want to put in a lag for their curing time. I would personally recommend against it because, why not just create an activity that tracks that lag? But I will say you definitely don't want negative lag on your schedule. Contractors will try to add that in to constrain dates at times, and then at some point they'll release it. And that's why you might get a schedule that all of a sudden has all this delay built in and you didn't know how that happened. You can't figure out what went wrong. There's a chance it might have had a negative lag. We're going to go back to the beginning. You would do your same thing, add in your disposition. We're accepting the schedule. Everything looks okay to us. So once you've completed your review, you're going to then go in and I'm just going to upload that. I'm going to hit accepted, hit done, and we are going to close this out. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to come in here and we're going to update our schedule on the metric here using that Rev1 file. All right, so we got version 2 ready to go. So we're just going to click on this icon and then you'll see your schedule here. This is my new schedule. And again, this is just another way you can look at your schedule and you can do your comparisons, your tools, you can filter, you could just show milestones, you could just show your critical path, things like that. So there's a bunch of different filters and viewers you can add into this to be able to help with your review. The only thing you can't do is you can't actually edit your schedule in here. It's just a reader. So the very, very last thing I like to do is go onto my homepage here, add your project progress and milestones into this little metric and update all your milestones. And, just so when people log into the project, they can kind of see where you're at, where your progress is on the project. These are manually entered. It's not tied to anything. So you do have to kind of manually do that part. But I like to do it just on the projects I'm on so that the team is kind of aware of where we're at with the schedule. Okay, so hopefully today's training was helpful for you. Let's make sure we get all these baseline schedules cleaned up and our projects started on the right foot. Thanks all. See you next time.